Hi there, it's Karen again. This is the fourth session on the decoration of my lovely little journal here. For those of you that are playing along with me or creating along with me, this is where we're at the moment. Front cover, obviously. Don't forget to go over to Miss Rose Sister Violet and have a look at these gorgeous rose trim if you want some of that. It's on their channel. I've got the link in my description. First page, second page, third page. As I mentioned in my last video, I'm just doing all the artwork throughout the book to start with, and then I'm going to come back and add paper and other things to it as I feel the desire. It's really tricky because I almost don't want to add anything to it, just have it as a bit of a look book. Again, the page there that folds over, and this is where we're up to. I've gessoed all throughout, as you can see. I've done that sort of, it's not perfect, and that's how I want it. I don't want it all white. I want some of the background paper actually coming through. But what I've done is I've added this picture here. I did it the same way that I actually applied the rose, with the carbon paper and a biro over the sepia line drawing, and then painted that in the last video, obviously. So now I'm up to the next page, and I figured rather than put the woman here, I'll put the rose there and I'll put the woman here. Now this is from a Edward Burne-Jones painting or stained glass window, I suppose, and it's called The Merchant's Daughter. You can see a picture of this online, and I have actually done a line drawing. I've turned her around the opposite way. She should be mirrored, but I like it looking this way. And what I'm going to attempt to do is to just take you through how to get a stained glass type look out of this picture here. So yes, I put it on using the same technique as the rose, and I'm going to actually paint her in a moment. But what I would suggest for anyone who's watching who does not consider themselves an artist, or if you don't have paints, get your beautiful brush pens out and use those, because they'll just look beautiful. Anyway, as we go, I'll just put in the colours as I see fit. I'm not going to make it exactly the same as the original design, because quite frankly I don't like the colour palette that he's used. It may look lovely in a stained glass window, but it's not my cup of tea, the colours that we use. So I'm just going to ad lib and do my own thing in the colour palette on this particular design here. But what I did do is I've copied it out in using the carbon paper, and it's actually I think the brand is Sarrel copy paper or carbon paper, but you can use anything that you can find. I've used a precision pen to go over the background of the carbon paper because it was quite pale. As if you'd followed me earlier, you would have seen the rose was a little bit tricky, particularly on this paper. It was difficult to see where I'd actually traced it. This one was fine on the white, but on this background it wasn't great. But what I need is for the outline to be there. So I've used this, it's a precision pen. It's the number 3 or 03, and it's a waterproof pen. So even if you paint in, it's not going to run or anything like that, even if you use your brush markers to actually colour the design in. I haven't figured out what colours I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to start with the leaf. I tend to go with one colour to begin with, and then work my way around the design and figure it out as I go, what looks good and what doesn't, in my opinion. But what I've also done is, after I've traced her on, I've gone around the outline and I've put in a a black, or this is actually dark brown, but I'm going to be doing black on this design, just so that you can see where we're headed with this design. So even a black and white copy would look fab. You know, you don't have to even colour it in any further than that, and that would look really quite beautiful on the actual background. So yeah, I'm going to do the lines here. Kind of mucked it up a little bit there, but I'm going to fix it up in this one. If you're worried about doing the design and painting it or using your brush pens, why not print up the copy that's on my blog of this design and have a go. Just put your colours in on the actual paper before you go ahead and put it on the surface that it's going to be there for good. Okay, so what I'll do is I might start with the green. I'm just going to go one colour, a couple of little mini strokes for the leaves, and I'll try and show you how easy it can be to achieve. I'm using a very small little brush, which is an angle shader. You can use whatever's comfortable for you. Again, if you're using the brush markers, you won't need to worry about the brush, will you? So just paint along with me or draw along with me. I've popped my brush in a little bit of that medium that was still hanging around on my palette. My palette is still as wet as, and this is more than 3 weeks later. So if you haven't already had a look at my creating a wet palette, go and have a look at it, because it'll really help keep your paints for you so that you're not tossing out paint all the time, and because they can be quite expensive to buy when you're starting out particularly. So I've got some olive green on my brush. I'm just going to paint it in and see what it looks like. Just one little stroke going in the direction of the leaves there. I don't want it too coloured in, so I'm going to remove a bit of that paint. Just really colouring it in with the brush. If you go outside the lines, that's perfectly fine, because you can see here, this is where I'm doing the green. And even if I paint over it, I've still got the black around the edge there. So it doesn't really matter if you're going outside the lines. If you're worried about painting, if you haven't painted before, pick up a brush and have a go, and you won't regret it. I think I'm going to grab some extra medium just so I can lighten up the amount of paint that I've got on there, so I'll make it a little bit more transparent. There are other mediums that you can use to make paint transparent, such as the Clyster medium or your glaze medium. If you add it, even the magic mix, it'll give you some open time with your paint, so you can fiddle around with it and it won't dry on your brush. And yes, so if you're in the market to buying any mediums, go and have a look at Chroma online and see what they've got available. They've got great descriptions and how they're used. So if you're a novice and you're worried about wasting your money or not being able to use them properly, just go and have a bit of a read, because they've got some really good info on there about each of their products. Okay, so yeah, just getting a little bit the same old here, just all green. In a stained glass painting, they don't have a lot of shading or anything like that, because they're not, I think they're probably used the different coloured glass rather than painting the design on. So keep that in mind if you're going to have a look at the original picture. It's really quite lovely. They did some beautiful work in the decorative arts movement, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting your designs inspiration from them. I'll just put a little bit of shading in the middle there, just dabbing. I still don't know what colour I'm going to do the dress. I think I might go with red hair, because I've got a blondie reddy colour hair, and I usually paint all my women with with red hair. It's a little bit crazy, I know, but we can make it ours. And Yeah, so even I painted the flora design that William Morris originally designed, and I taught her as a workshop when I was living in Hobart, and I did my flora with red hair, which is nothing like the original, but it looked pretty cool. It won first prize in the Hobart show, so it did all right. And I've still got it as a prize piece. My husband said none of the kids are getting it if anything happens to me. He's keeping it. So, yeah, just one tiny little stroke. And you probably do this with a different size brush, just the tip of the brush, but keep it, rule of thumb is, use the brush that's purpose to the size of your actual artwork. You don't want to use a whopping big brush for this tiny work here. And I'm just sort of, going very hit and miss with the painting. It's going to look great when it's all done. It doesn't look much now, but it usually comes good and starts to look quite good once it's finished. So, yeah, just be patient and plot away and put your colours in. You might like autumn leaves, so you could put a ready autumny colour or orangey brown, whatever your heart desires, you can do that. I'm going with green, obviously. It's an olive green. I'm using the Josonia matte acrylic, which is their branded paint for. They have a beautiful matte finish on them, as I've mentioned in my other videos. So I'm not really good with shine. I don't prefer it. So their acrylics really work beautifully for me, because they're nice and matte in their finish. You can always varnish over them if you like a glossier look or a satin finish. You can just use a different type of varnish over the top of your work if you want that, as I did with the matte varnish yesterday. I'm just going to go back and darken a few of these just to add a little bit of interest to them. I could equally go back in and start to outline the lines again, but the black, when I put the black in behind, it's going to really stand it out. All right, so I think that'll do. Just wash out my brush. Someone mentioned in some feedback that I received that I wasn't overly fussed about cleaning the brush. Well, I actually am, and much of the time, not all the time to my shame, I do use the Josonia brush cleaner, because it does have a conditioner in there for the brush, so it's not going to dry your brush out like normal soap would. And because some people might just use normal soap, and that's fine, but it's going to kill your brush over time. You're not going to have it for very long. All right, so this is a rose here, believe it or not. So I'm just going to go into the same colours that I used the other day. I'll pick up the purple madder, and I'll put the purple madder in the centre. And I might just lighten that a little bit. Now, what else have I got here? I've got some rose pink. I might just mix a little bit of rose pink with the purple madder and see what it looks like. Oh, I like it. I'm going to go darker in the centre anyway, because typically flowers will look a little bit darker towards the centre of the petals till they get out and reach the sunlight. I think I'll go a bit darker. I'm keeping a dirty brush here. I want to keep the line where I've painted. I want to keep that obvious. All right, so that'll do there. I like that. I'm washing the brush. Okay, so what I might do now is I might paint her hair in. What colour shall I go? I think I need a bit of yellow on my palette. I haven't got any at the moment. Actually, I've got vermilion instead, so I'm going to put a little bit of the orange or the vermilion on my palette just so I can darken the this is the colour here. I'm just using that to darken some of the red just so that I can not have it so outstanding orange. And it might still not be the colour that I'm looking for, but it's turned into a gorgeous dark reddy sort of colour there. All right, so let's see what it looks like. I might just need to change it. So I'll go darker towards this where her neck is there, just as in case it's too dark. I'll just go along the edge. Probably darker than I expected, but I'll persevere. Just go under. I think I might still need some yellow on my palette. I'm just going to find it. There's so many paints here. So I'm going to use the Turner's yellow. You can use a brighter yellow, but this will work, I think. It's just to lighten it up just a tad. Okay, I'm just blending on my palette. I'm just going to go lighter here. Don't forget it's not realistic. It's stained glass type look. If you want something a little bit brighter, go brighter. In fact, I'll just put some yellow before it all dries. Just put some highlight there. Go with the other orange under there, just lighter. Now I've chosen to use a small brush because I've got a little bit more control in this small area. I think I'm going to go over those lines when the paint dries. I'm just going to go back in over it and put the black lines in again. Who has hair like this anyway? I think in the original it's kind of like a khaki yellow anyway. You do go and have a look at it if you haven't seen it already. You can see I've gone over the line there. I'm not worried about that because that's going to be black in there. So good to put the colour in first. Okay, might just do some neat yellow over the top. Be really lovely to hear back from you if you're trying this, doing a little bit of artwork. That'd be really great just to hear back from you, see what you're up to. I know somebody asked me what size the tape was, and I had to come and measure it, the brown tape that I've used in the middle here. And I did look it up online, and you can actually buy it from places that sell art and craft gear. And it's not overly pricey. It's just around, between $8 and $10, depending on where you shop. I think Riot Art, that craft place, they actually sell it, I noticed, for, I think, around $8 or something. Alrighty, so I'm going to have a think about what colour I'm going to do the dress, and I think I might put a design of some sort on there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and paint the black lines in, just so I can see where things are at. All right, I'll just get my paint and I'll be back. All right, so I found my black, and I'm popping a little bit of medium on my brush so that it's not drying out, because in the the air, it'll actually dry out a little bit. So I'm going to start on the left-hand side and work my way across, so I'm not putting my hand in my work. So just going to stay inside the square here. It's just really about colouring in the background with the paint. Not sure if I'm probably using a different brush might be helpful if I use a liner brush, but liner brush is a little bit trickier to control. With this angle shader, you can work on the chisel edge, like up that way, or work it flat. In this case, I'm doing both, but where it's very small areas, I'm just putting it on the chisel edge. If you've got a black permanent marker, use a black permanent marker. I'm doing the painting because I want it to be my artwork in here with paint. And but there's no shame in not doing the painting. It's just a matter of getting the result that you're looking for. It's just like really colouring in with a paintbrush. If you find your hands a little bit wobbly, just hold your breath and that'll help. You don't want to hold it for too long, obviously. And obviously I'm not holding one because I'm talking, which is what I do. Yeah. Anyway, I could probably cheat and use the liner brush or the marker, but I just don't feel right about doing that because I'm going to be giving this one away and I want it to be lovely. So the person who ends up getting this in the giveaway can know that it was painted. I know it's a little bit boring just to watch me sort of go in the lines, so I'm probably going to turn the camera off in a minute and just go around. And basically I'm going to put the black where this dark brown is here. So if you're working along with me, why don't you just trial it out on your piece of paper first, and then you'll have a guide as to where your lines are going to go. And I'll be back in a minute when I finish painting the black lines in. They will just mimic the lead light, I suppose. Okay, I'm finding it much easier to use the liner brush. I found that going in around some of these little crevices here was a little bit tricky with the other brush, so I'm using the liner brush. If you're game, give it a shot. Just remember to make the paint an inky consistency. You can do this with the flow medium or even magic mix if you've got it. You can do it with water, but just be aware that it's going to water down the colour as well as the binder in the paint. So that's why I use the mediums. I just find them, they're made to work perfectly with the paint. So, I don't second guess it. I just use them. They give you a really much better result if you're brave enough to use them, or again, if you don't have any idea as to how to use them, go and have a look at their website. They've got all the info up there for you. Or you can just pose a question in my feedback and I'll try and answer it best I can if you're having struggle with a particular medium or wanting to know about a particular technique. I would love to answer any questions you've got. Yeah. Just keep on going here for a little while. We'll get down there. The liner brush is much easier to use because I'm going around the edges of the leaves, and it's going to, be a little bit sharper. I can be a little bit bolder with the liner brush because it's so narrow. You can see it's quite a thin brush. I just want to, there's a rose stem in here somewhere, and I think I've missed it, but I'm just going to go around the outside of the hand. And I'm going to leave that little section there. I think that might be the rose stem. So just gently go around the hand, holding my breath as I go. Believe it or not, can she talk and hold her breath at the same time? Yes, I can. Now this part here is part of the look of the lead light going around the hand. If you're not too sure, just go and have a look at the picture. And this part here is a part of her dress, so I'm not going to go in there. I'm kind of jumping all over the place here a little bit, but I'll work my way down. Let's go around the outline of the hand. Adding some medium to that, just so it's a little bit more runny, the black paint. It will dry matte. There won't be any shine. The shine is there because it's wet. So you'll know when it's dry because it'll dry perfectly matte. Slowly getting there. For those of you that are using the markers, you're probably finished by now if you're working along, which is a good thing, being finished. I'll just go down here so I don't lose my train of thought as far as where I'm putting the black. It'd be much easier if I painted in the outfit first because then I could see it a lot clearer. But I thought I'll just go down with the black and see what it looks like with the background. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the frame around it yet. The original has got some interesting look about it. Wasn't something that I really liked, but I figure I'll just probably do some kind of a leaf scroll or something around the frame when I get to it. I've got a feeling when I was putting this drawing on that it was I missed out on some of the areas, or I've put too much of some of not enough lines in there. So it's really, I'm just painting in where I think at the moment. So you might just have a look at the original and see where the lines should go. Mind you, I have mirrored the original, so not going to be dirt easy. Yeah, I find it much easier with the liner brush, even though it looks scary. I've had many years of practice with this, so if you don't find it easy, don't be too concerned because, yeah, I've been painting for a long, long time. And I now wear glasses, whereas I never used to have to wear glasses. So, yeah, I can see a lot better when I was a lot younger. But I do love to paint. It's got a little wobble around there. That's meant to be. It'll look great in a minute. You'll see. I think that little angle shader would not have been ideal because some of these lines are quite narrow. I'm just going to colour in where I think here with the paintbrush. Come back around. And back to work tomorrow. Can't wait, not. I'd rather be sitting home painting all day. Creating. I never get too much time when I'm at work because I come home, I'm pretty taxed, both emotionally and physically, even though my job is I'm a chronic disease nurse coordinator, so I get to sit and talk about chronic conditions with people all day. And but it can be really emotionally taxing. People tend to tell you everything that you don't even ask about, but yeah, so I get home and I'm a little bit over it. Even though I love what I do, it can be very taxing. I think I might just colour that little area there in. So I don't get a lot of time during the week particularly to do anything creative, that is. So I've been taking up all the time that I possibly can to get through this lovely little journal here. It's probably going to take a few weeks to get through it, mind you, because I've got a lot of thoughts coming to my mind about different things I can put in it that make it unique and lovely. I'm just going in around the edge of that. That's her sleeve. Right, I'm just going to continue on and I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so you can see where I've gone with the black. I've done quite a lot of the area in the back there. And just so that I made the rose stand out a little bit, I've used a light brown in here. I'll just go down the stems and show you. And I've taken a bit of artistic license and put a couple of stems in where they were not, just so that it looks like those leaves are actually clinging to something there. I know roses don't have brown stems, but these ones do. It's yours, so you can make it what you like. And I think the only way to stand them out with the black background is to just go in and make them like a chocolatey sort of brown with a bit of highlight on the actual stem, just so you can see where it's going. I'll just put some more there. All right, so you can see that's pretty much a stained glass kind of look. Now I'm just going to probably have a little think about what colour dress and if I'm going to put any pattern or anything on there. And I'll deal with that in the next video. Actually, I can see a spot there that I've missed, so I'm going to make that brown. I'm just going to make that, this part here is part of her dress going down in here, so I'm just going to make this part here brown so that it's just not white. That can be part of the leaf stem. I don't know if it's like that in the original, but it is now. And so the rest of this white here is actually part of her dress. That's part of her dress there. That's part of her dress there. That's the sleeve, part of the sleeve. Okay, so we'll come back to that one. Right, so I've decided to make her dress a rose pink colour. Just going to, not going to put too much detail in there, but what I've done is I've used quite a lot of medium on my brush just so that I can really make that almost transparent look. Probably got a little bit too much medium on there. I'm just really colouring it in with my angle shader again. I like using this brush because I can go up on the chisel edge with it as well as use it flat. Right, I'm going to go over this here because they're not leaves, they're just creases in her dress as she's bent her arm up, so you could probably make them leaves. They look like they should be leaves. I might shade this in a minute, but I've chosen this particular colour because I want it to work in with everything else. If I did that yellow, then that would not look cool. I think it would really mess up the aesthetic of the book or the journal. And I've noticed I'm going in the direction of the dress here, and I'm going over that lovely black lines there, and they're not lifting up, which is great because it's a waterproof pen. Don't do this if you've got if you've used a marker that's not waterproof, because it will smudge and be pretty darn awful. I've done that before. Just really colouring in there and down here as well. Doesn't matter so much if you get on the black because you're not going to see it really. This is why it's good to do the black first, so you can then just paint over your mistakes. If you make them, of course, like I do. Probably too big a brush just to paint in that little area there, but it does need to be the same colour. I'm going to put a bit of shading in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a darker tone using the rose pink, and not too much medium on my brush, just enough to have it slide along nicely there. So I'm just going to do it where the shaded parts are, just to give her a little bit of form. So it's probably not quite dry yet, but I think it'll be okay. I'm just shading it in, just using a heavier lot of paint on my brush. And under the arm, generally, there would either be shading under here or on the shoulder. I'll go here, only because it's a little bit more easy for my brush. Point it down. And under here, and she's holding the dress, believe it or not. She's holding that skirt up there. You can go in between. Okay, so that's given it a little bit of form, made her not quite so flat. Even though it is meant to be a stained glass picture, we can still make it look nice with a little bit of shape about it. Right, just one more little bit along here, I think. Okay, I'm happy with that colour. Her skin, I'll just do in a typical skin tone look, I think, which won't be out of place. I'm not going to worry so much about her eyes being blue or brown or whatever, but I will put a tiny little bit of colour on her lips when we get to it. So I've just used what's on my palette. I've put some white, titanium white, and I've mixed it with a little bit of a brownish tone that I used earlier on. And I'm just, oh, it looks like her eyes are they're leaking here. I'll just cover that over because I'm not sure why, because nothing else has. Doesn't matter. Just going to keep working. So I've got my angle shader here again, and you can see the colour that I'm using. It looks very pink, but I've picked up a bit of this and a bit of that and a little bit of brown on my brush, and I'm not sure. I wonder if it's because I'm using the medium. It's actually starting to, the black is starting to run a bit, and I'm not sure why. I've got a feeling it's because I've used a medium. But it shouldn't run. That's the thing. You can see I'm just dabbing there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her a little bit of shape along there in a minute. We'll just do the hand. She looks very pink, doesn't she? So we'll put a bit of brown tone over, the same colour that I used for the branch. I actually made a colour of using green and the purple matter that was on my palette. And so I'm just going to see if this is not too dark. Just pop it along the back there. Okay, no, that's not too bad. And just under her chin there a little bit, just to stick her face out a bit. Might do the same with her hand as well, just on the on this side, I think. Just to give it a little bit of shape. come up where the fingers are, under here. Don't have to actually shade this, it's just really giving her a little bit of form so she's not looking too flat looking. I'll go a little bit darker on this side of the face. Have to fix that now, but yeah, don't know what caused that to, because it shouldn't have smudged. I wonder why it did. I might have had some black paint on there or something, but it still shouldn't smudge. Anyway, that's all right. I'm still happy with it. I'm just going to maybe come down there, make her face a little bit darker on that side. I'm going to go over that eye with the pen in a minute, just so that it's not too funky looking. And I'm just going to put some colour in around her mouth. I know what it is. So I picked up some medium that had some black on it. I've been dipping into my medium with my black paint, and I think that's what I've done, because normally a water-based or waterproof pen should not do that, and it's never done it before. I think I've just picked up a little bit of black paint. Just going to just colour up her mouth a little bit. Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to go back in over her eyes. I'm actually happy with that. Doesn't have to be anything more than that. Actually, what I might do, I'll put a little highlight on the rose petals. Okay. So I'm just going to draw in the leaves again. Go over it with the pen because I've painted out a lot of it, but I just want to go over her eye here. Hopefully I won't stuff it up any more than I already have. Looks like it was kind of meant to be. I did the hair with the paintbrush rather than try and do the pen and get it dark enough, because it won't go super dark. But I do want those lines to... Oh, gave her a wobbly chin then. I think the paper, the back of the journal paper is actually a little bit... The paint underneath, the gesso, actually is a bit wobbly. There, so we'll just fix that. Okay. She's not the prettiest little woman, is she? I'll just highlight her fingers in again. Now I'm going to go, still not, I might fix that later anyway. Still not overly fussed on the way the eye looks. Just really enhancing the lines that were drawn in earlier that I've painted over. I'm not going to do that because I don't actually like those, but I might make them leaves after all. Nearly there. I still haven't come up with the idea of what I'm going to do with the frame yet. I'll just have to have a sleep on that one, I think, and come up with an idea and do it in the next video, because as you will have noticed by now, all my videos tend to be a little bit long, and I do apologise for that. I just like to try and give as much detail as I possibly can so that you will be confident to have a go at this. You can see it's not too difficult. With the brush it can be a little bit tricky. I might just put a line in there as well. If you're not used to using a paintbrush, it can be a little bit tricky, but don't let it stop you from having a go, because it's worth it. You'll become a wonderful artist. I sound very patronising, and I don't mean to, but you know, people just need a little bit of encouragement sometimes to have a go and be willing to fail, because we all do. No one starts off being perfect from the beginning. It takes lots of practice to be confident with your work and to come up with a really good result. Don't know if that made a lot of difference there, actually. Let's go around the edge. You can tidy up some of the painted edges if you, like me, got a little bit rough and ready around the edges. I'm kind of ad-libbing here. I'm putting leaves in where they are not, I think. But I think it's just going to hopefully sharpen up the background design again a little bit. I know it's painstaking and it takes a little bit of work, but it'll be worth it in the long run, because you'll have a really nice piece. I'm like a bit of a bull at a gate. I want things done now kind of thing, so I often can find myself rushing through things and be a bit sorry about it because I muck it up. Don't know if I've gone over these or not. I am now again. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed just watching me make a bit of a schmozzle. And I think it's turned out all right. It's not perfect, but I don't care, because it's mine. And hopefully the person who ends up getting this will appreciate the effort, even though I'm trying to rush through a little bit quickly so I can get through for you, not kept online. I don't even know if people keep watching my videos straight through. It'd be good to get some feedback, actually, whether you watch it all the way through or whether you get tired of it and maybe think, oh, I'll come back another day and have a look at that. Be nice to think that people are actually watching all the way through, but I'm not delusional. I don't think everyone will be. But if you've kept up with me this far, good on you. You deserve a star, and you might even be the one to get this. So I'm just going to probably finish that off camera so that it's not any longer than it should be. But I do appreciate you watching, and I do hope that you decide to just subscribe and even tell your friends if they want to learn some interesting art sort of pieces and textures and doing different art backgrounds. Then I can help with that, and I just have great joy in teaching. So yeah, come back again, and I think I just need to fix this wobbly. She's got a wobbly chin. Straighten it up. Looks a bit funky, too wobbly. I'll just make it a bit thicker and straighten it. Yeah, so come back again for my next video. And I've got some thoughts on my lovely buckles here. I don't want to get rid of those because I cannot find them anywhere online or in op shops or anything at the moment. So they're like hen's teeth, but I'm coming up with a way that you can actually make your own. And so I'll be posting that as soon as I get a video up on that. So stay with me, and I'll see you again in the next session. Thanks again for watching. Bye.